Diary. My name is Ryan Snelling, and I'm excited to be here. As always, it's a very special episode of Watch Diary today. I don't typically have a co-host. It's been a while since Brando Hall's been on to chat movies with me. What's up, buddy? How are you?
It's my birthday, Ryan.
Oh my God. We'll get to it. No, I'm just kidding. Listen.
That is the thing.
Listen, it is your birthday, and
yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know until about 30 minutes ago.
And how is your day going to change now that you do know?
Well, I don't know. I feel bad. I wouldn't have felt bad if I had texted you earlier in the day. I mean, it's like 6 p.m. at the time that we're recording this. I found out it was your birthday a little after 5, and I don't know. I just feel like a bad friend. But also, how would I have known? There's no way.
Well, I know my friends' birthdays. I know yours.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
April, May, June. It's June 6th of 1906.
Nowhere close. Nowhere
666.
close. No.
The devil.
That's another thing we haven't talked about yet. Is you had a big Easter. Good for you. Good for
Easter!
you in Christianity. You were off last week for Easter, so I hope that was a big time for you and your family as well.
Christ rocks!
I meant to look up, how long do you think it's been since you've been on Watch Diary? What do you think the last movie was that we talked about? Do you think it was like Bahubali?
Was it not Sight and Sound?
Excuse me?
Yeah, it must have been Bahubali.
Yeah, it might have been. It was like
Bahubali.
Yeah, it was before I moved here, probably, for sure. I'm trying to scroll through real quick and see if I can find it. But yeah, that's great.
And our
Samaritan?
tradition.
Oh no, it was Bahubali. Yeah, that's what it was.
That well, we are continuing today our chasing clout when it comes to Indian cinema.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's what I've been doing, by the way. Chasing clout since you've been gone over the last 2 weeks. I've been busting my ass trying to get you more listeners on the podcast with these John Campea videos. And so that's what I've been doing, but you were giving me shit for those videos. Fair.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's just so funny. You had one video about John Campea.
Right.
And it got like 14,000 views or something. And then you're like, oh, that's the ticket, and started chasing it. Well, I love that about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's a little bit more to it, but you're onto something there. No, so that and covering Indian cinema has been gold for this podcast, but I'm more than happy to do it. Look, I love watching John Campea. I love criticizing the movie space. I also love watching Indian cinema because it is just refreshing. Yeah, every time it's a real it's a real treat getting to watch these films. So I do want to say real quick before we dive into Pathaan, Brando, happy birthday.
Thank you, Ryan.
What is it, 35, 36?
36 today. And I celebrated. I took Cadence to see the Super Mario Brothers movie in theaters.
Yeah.
But here's the mistake, Ryan. So, can we talk? So there's a city called Frankfurt. You used to live there, and there's a cinema there, and it is shitty.
I haven't been there in years.
That theater, so let me tell you about my theater experience today. So I haven't been to the theater in like literally 4 years.
Right.
I try not to go because I've got a big screen TV at home, and I've got, HBO. So there's no reason to go to sit with a bunch of fellow mouth breathers, and watch a movie. So
by the way, you have Max now. You don't have HBO. You have Max now. But go ahead.
Whatever. So I'm in there, and the movie has started. It's hot in there. They had not turned on the AC yet. So Daddy's a big boy. So Daddy's is sweating. And Cadence wore his Super Mario Brothers hoodie that he had to take off because it was so hot. Now, I had dressed warm because I'm used to movie theaters being cold. That's strike one. Strike two, they had pre-made popcorn.
Oh, like it was already bagged and just sitting like in a heated little cabinet?
Trash. Garbage. I got a Diet Mountain Dew. All syrup. And I didn't check it until we had already went in. That's a rookie mistake. That's on me. And then as soon as the movie started, these two old people came in with flashlights full on because you could hear them go, gosh, I can't see. And so they had the light on their phone off, and they could not figure out how to turn it off.
Yeah.
And so it was awful. So there was like 2 minutes of the beginning of the movie with, lights from their cell phone going off and them not knowing what to do. And then the sound in that theater is just off.
Yeah.
It wasn't
loud
enough.
Was it out of sync, or was it just not enveloping the experience?
Yeah. Like, you could tell they were using surround sound, but it still sounded terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is garbage, and there's no subtitles. Like, why would you ever watch a film without subtitles?
You're the only person that needs that, but that's fine. Well,
that's not true.
Other than, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody that might need to read a movie.
No. I think most normal people watch everything with subtitles on.
No. So,
Yep.
What did you think about the film? I'm curious. I mean, did you have any sort of Mario fandom going? Of course, you and I probably grew up on Nintendo playing Mario. So, but was it something you were looking forward to because of that, or was it something that you weren't excited about because it was like an obligation to take your kid? Like, what was your temperament walking in?
Well, it's my birthday, and I took my Cadence to see a movie he wanted to see. So, I'm just the world's greatest dad, and that's all there is to it.
Right.
Here's what I thought. I thought it was fine. Fine is the word I would use. I think there were some missed opportunities with the film.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought, like, the whole time I'm there, I'm just like, and maybe my experience was tarnished because of how bad everything was.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was just like, it's the correct length, I'll tell you that.
It's like a tight 90, yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful. Bring that back, please. Yeah, I just thought it was just fine. It was a kids movie, made by the same people who did Minions, so it was very Minions-y.
How did you feel about Pratt as Mario?
I didn't care. Couldn't tell it was him.
Like you're just indifferent, like it didn't matter either way?
Well, he's coming for me with the Christianity Zone, and he's a little more famous than me. But yeah, I just thought it was fine. I love Charlie Day as Luigi. You couldn't, like, they altered Jack Black's voice as Bowser, and so I just thought that was dumb. But there's a song in it that was fine. Yeah, overall it was good. I would see it again. I'm sure I will have to as soon as Elvis realizes, as soon as it comes on like regular HBO, Disney Plus, wherever it comes, Elvis is going to watch it over and over and over.
So I have not seen it yet. I debated on taking my niece and nephew.
They'll love it.
I watched Air that week instead. So do you think that this is a quality movie to take my niece and nephew to while it's in theaters? Like, we'll all have fun together. It'll be good.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, take them. They'll like it. It's not about you.
Well, it mostly is. But all right, well, that's good.
Fair.
That's good. But because I grew up on Mario, you don't think I'm gonna lose my mind or anything?
No, there's a few like Easter eggs for old people like us.
Okay.
So yeah, it was cool. It's fine.
Does one of the blue penguins from Super Mario 64 make an appearance? You remember those like blue little baby penguins?
Yes.
From the Ice Worlds? There's a baby penguin in it?
There's a lot of baby penguins in it.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. How about that? Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was the question I felt like I had to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I just recounted my memories playing 64, and that was the thing I thought of, is saving a baby penguin on one of the Ice Worlds. But anyway, that's good to know, I guess. It's the highest grossing movie of the year. Already made $500,000 in a week and a half. it's already made more than Ant-Man Quantumania's entire box office run.
Really?
Yeah. But
That's nuts.
It wasn't hard to do for a film like that. But anyway. So, there you go. Super Mario Brothers. All right.
Are you not going to ask me about the birthday sex?
You've already had it?
Well, you don't know. You haven't asked.
Brando, what about the birthday sex?
Oh, so kind of you to ask. Every day's my birthday because I get sex whenever I want it. All I have to do is drop trowel and go, yo! It's time.
Yo,
That's a
preheat
lie.
the oven.
That's a lie. That's a lie from hell. That's right. Preheat the crock pot. Thank you.
Oh. Speaking of sex.
Yeah, it's coming.
So speaking of sex,
But
I have archived that image behind you on my Instagram. So I'm wondering how the hell you got it.
I have my ways.
If you go to my Instagram right now, it is not there. It's archived.
I got it from your new OnlyFans that you've started.
Incredible.
Just search for Tiny Ween Guy.
That's right.
36.
That's right.
And you'll find him.
I remember people watching me behind the camera and laughing at me when taking that photo. Also, it's hilarious that there's another person in front of me that also makes that photo. But anyway.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of sex, let's talk about this film, Pathaan or Pathaan. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly right. I keep forgetting. It's like the Bahubali or Bahubali, but so just forgive me. But here's why I'm excited. I feel like we're pros at this now, and which is probably stupid to say because this is our 4th Indian film, but I was like super excited, knew nothing about it other than that it was a recent release. This was a 2023 release, so we were on top of it, sorta, and I wanted to watch a modern day, or I should say a Indian film set in modern day. I wanted to know what that experience was like, because up until this point, we've watched RRR and Bahubali Part 1 and Part 2, which are these time period pieces, historic epics. Now we have something set in modern day. I asked you to watch this for me and for this podcast. What was your sort of take on, I don't know, pre-watching the film?
So I didn't do my homework yet again. I watched the movie, but I did not see if it was Tollywood or Bollywood. I know nothing about that stuff. And so I went into the movie knowing that I was going to get a few things that Indian cinema is just going to give us. One, the most beautiful men.
That's right.
In existence.
That's right.
2, the most beautiful women in existence.
That's right.
3, a song out of nowhere.
With like literal translated lyrics that just make it hilarious.
That's right. And 4, I knew it was going to give us the action scenes in these movies.
Yeah.
Are exactly how I used to play with my action figures as a kid, along with the sounds, like the punch sounds, and then the action sequences are straight up anime.
Of course.
And it was, I love that about Indian cinema. So I was excited going into it. Those are my like initial thoughts before hitting play.
Yeah, I think what we're constantly talking about here is 2 white guys from the United States. We're constantly comparing and contrasting our India's sensibilities with their films and how what America's sensibilities are. And when it comes to like this type of movie especially, I'm not always in, because it reminds me of like Fast and Furious and Jason Statham type movies that are like in my head these, pass, don't need to see in the theaters, maybe worthy of watching at home on DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, digital. So they're not movies that I'm like excited to see in America necessarily. But the premise excited me because I wanted to see the Indian take on it. So again, all that to say that it's not normally my cup of tea, but the fact that we have new sensibilities that we're not used to, and I wanted to see what they did with the genre. I was definitely excited to check this out. But I mean, do you agree though? Like, if this was just this but the American version, wouldn't you already know? I was gonna say, wouldn't you already know that it's just not your thing?
Yeah, it's like if you would have went and saw Walking Tall in the theaters, which I'm sure you did.
I did. I did.
But no, I love these kind of movies. I would have loved to have seen these in the theater, except for the fact that like Bahubali is like 3 hours. But yeah, this one had a 2.5 hours is still quite a movie. And so I would have had fun watching this in a packed theater with people who knew what they were getting into.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been a great theater experience. But it was even better sitting in my lazy man, watching this film this morning.
I don't have the best setup. I have to lay in bed and watch on this computer monitor that I'm looking at right now. I turn it around and watch it from my bed. So it's not the most ideal situation, but I will say out of the 4 movies that we've covered, the Indian films, this was the hardest for me to get through. I had to constantly pause, stop, get up, do a whole bunch of stuff. I would get bored. I would find myself on my phone more than any of the other films. And it probably took me 4 to 4.5 hours to actually watch this entire movie, which is 2.5 hours long. And yeah. I find myself really struggling to get through this. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't things that I appreciated, but I definitely had more issues with this than I had with the other 3. So, obviously, the bombast is something that we appreciate, and it almost saying this out loud doesn't make sense. I've accepted it more so in historical epics, because when you think period pieces, historical epics, to me, they are supposed to come off more self-serious, more factual. Like, it's not until you get into modern day where you start doing the Fast and Furious and start taking action films less seriously, things like that. So, but it was weird that the bombast for me worked more with the historical films, and it kind of just, it didn't feel as unique and special. It reminded me of the genre that I already sort of reject in America, and I just didn't have as much fun with it in those ways. How did you feel about it?
I thought so. I know that in the comments of our last Indian film reviews, that they say things like, well, flashbacks are part of it, right? But there are flashbacks in this film that are a lot of the film.
Yeah.
And I just found that to be jarring when they decided to come back. I was like, wait a second. What is happening? The pacing of this movie is insane.
Yeah.
It's insanity. I get it. It was also my hardest watch in that I just didn't care. Do you know? Like, I cared in RRR. I cared in Bahubali. I did not care in this movie. Not to say that the lead actor wasn't attractive and good at his part, but the film is just, it's all over the place.
There is too much story in this story. There's a way to tell this exact same thing in a much more succinct, and again, to people who might have watched our previous reviews, I mean, it probably sounds crazy, right? Because there's a ton of story in all 3 of the other movies that we've watched. But within this particular genre and the things that they were doing, it also felt too much like so many American films that I've seen. I mean, I would watch an entire sequence and think, which Mission Impossible movie is this? Because there were several of those that were just literally Mission Impossible sequences copy and pasted into this film. And so it just didn't feel as special.
Yeah, and I felt tonally like they kept changing the tone. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they had different directors. I doubt they did, but it felt like there were times where they tried to do like a comedy thing where, how do you say his name? How do you say it?
I'm gonna say Pathaan. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay,
Though.
Pathaan. When he was like being funny when that girl was when that chick was fighting people.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, and he would make these little quips, but it just didn't work all the time because the rest of the time it was so serious. And they so tonally the lead character was just bonkers.
Yeah.
And then I thought the action sequences were great, but they tried there was a moment when it's a heist film when they're trying to break in and steal the
some of the time it's a heist film, not the entire time.
Right.
Part of it is, I guess.
Yeah, it was just all over the place. I still had fun. Mm-hmm. Fun is what I would say I had, even though it was I had to sit through. One of the things that I think this film is very guilty, one of the sins I think it makes, is that every once in a while, in the movie, every at least 30 minutes, there's a, haha, you thought it was this, but now it's this, haha. It's like a Speed Racer episode where they're like, oh, you thought this was this, but it's M. Night Shyamalan. Now we go to this, now we go to this, now we go to this. And it was it felt so try-hardy, which I actually appreciate about, RRR and Bahubali. But for me, this one felt a little more flat, and it was a little hard to get through. But I would still say I had fun.
I also think the direction was way too wild for its own good. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
I thought the editing and some of the shot selection, I thought it was really sloppy, actually. Mm-hmm. And I can forgive. Look, I texted you 15 to 20 minutes into this movie, and my text was, "This is." I think Bollywood born was the term I used, and I was all in. And to speak to what you've already said, that was just part of the DNA of this movie. It became a different movie every 30 minutes. So at the start, I thought it was going to be Bourne, and it became a lot of other things that I kind of just lost track of. And but it was kind of hard to watch some of the action scenes. So there was some creativity for sure, not nearly as creative as what you and I have seen in the past. And granted, let's give it some leeway because of the different genre that it's playing in. But I thought the direction was almost too sloppy for its own good. It didn't serve the story.
Yeah, they would introduce characters without telling you who they were yet, but it took a while for them to tell you who they were. So there would be a face reveal that had no payoff because we hadn't even heard of the character until it happened.
Well, here's the thing that I did not tell you. I did know this going in, but I also read up that it didn't matter. So this is the fourth film in a series, and I did some research, and they're all so loosely connected they have a couple of characters that reoccur in the films, but I mean, I didn't feel like I had to see anything else. This did feel standalone. Yeah. And again, they cram...
Tiger.
Yeah. But they cram a ton of stuff in this. And so I have no idea. I cannot speak to what was in the previous three movies. I have no idea. But I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. I feel like my opinion is my opinion, whether I've seen three other movies or not.
Yeah, and you know what? We don't need universes for everything. This is a spy universe is what they call it or whatever.
Yeah.
And just stop. You know who doesn't need universes? Bollywood movies and DC. You don't need universes because you can't do it.
Well, the Batman, that's going to work. Give me the Penguin series.
It is not going to work.
So if you are interested in checking this movie out, it's on Prime Video. The summary, as of on Letterboxd anyway: a soldier caught by enemies and presumed dead comes back to complete his mission, accompanied by old companions and foes. And just a lot of shit happens. A lot of shit happens. Did you have anything else to say about Pathaan?
Nope. It was it's fine. But I do want to watch more films like it. I would love to see a modern day, so let's talk about. So it did look good for the most part. The movie.
I actually bought it the least, and I don't know why.
Well-
RRR has a scene at the opening with what's his name fighting a tiger or running from a tiger, and it looks like a PlayStation 1 scene. But for whatever reason, we bought into it. A lot of the animals didn't quite work for us, but I don't know why. I just didn't nearly buy it as much. Like, I remember kind of being disappointed in one of the very first action sequences that took place on the in Dubai, right? When the two helicopters have the cable and they're on top of the bus. I mean, I was actually kind of annoyed by the way that scene looked.
And the scene went nowhere because it could have, killed both helicopters, but he just let it go and then went away.
There wasn't even a shot where he let it go, was there?
Right. No.
Isn't that weird?
It was so weird.
I was like, what just happened exactly?
Yeah.
They just didn't show it.
Yeah, this movie had more things like that in it. However, like the lead actor, when he takes his shirt off in that scene,
oh my God,
you are a liar if you didn't go, yum. Okay? I needed you to admit that you said out loud, alone in your house, yum.
I did the Theo Vaughn. Damn.
Yeah, when I saw him, I was like, this guy juices. There's no way that's natural. No way.
Crazy.
But my God, so handsome. Jeez, handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I would love to see more. I would love to see like the Bollywood Oppenheimer, right? Like or like a Bollywood like Nolan film.
Well, I want to see the American Oppenheimer first, but I definitely want to see
Yeah.
a Bollywood Oppenheimer.
Well, sure. Yeah, I think these action movies, I just love how bonkers they're willing to go. But like there was even a Batman scene or Batman-ish scene to me when they're trying to get rid of that ball of virus and they're trying to figure out like how to get rid of it. And for a second, I swore he was going to get in a plane and fly it himself and then end up in France winking at Alfred.
Right. I think the part that I was most disappointed in, the part I was just like, come on, guys. It was when they fall from the helicopter, him and old lady fall from the helicopter onto the skyscraper that has the vault in it, and then they slide down the slanted. It's literally beat for beat the climax to Mission Impossible 3. And just wasn't done as good. Looked shittier. I was like, damn. Not only was this a straight rip, but it's just worse. And anyway.
Yeah.
But it also wasn't a thing I hate watched by any means. So it's not like I just thought it was terrible. I just wasn't that into it, and I didn't have an amazing home viewing experience like I did with the other movies. But anyway, still not down on Indian cinema. Like,
that's right.
Yeah,
it's still up
for sure.
They've had a miss, and honestly, RRR is still the best of all of them.
Yeah. Well, I remember kind of being disappointed because we watched Bahubali after RRR, and we were a little bit more critical of those two films. But this made me appreciate Bahubali even more, and I almost actually rewatched it right after this. I was so down. So it kind of made me miss Bahubali, not going to lie.
You just want to see him climb up that waterfall.
That's right. And I
don't blame you.
I want to see the scene. Remember when he like was swimming in the water and she put her hand in and he like painted him on her, and we were like, what?
Because that's how it works.
I want to see shit like that. Anyway, nothing else on this movie? We good?
We good.
All right. That's it. That was an episode of Watch Diary. Thank you, Brando, for joining me on your birthday. This isn't going to be released on your birthday, but thank you for joining me on your birthday to talk about movies, your favorite thing to talk about in the world.
That's right. Films.
Okay. Guys, you can find me wherever you find things at Rewatch Ryan. Hope you appreciated this, and I'll be back next week. I can't even remember what movie comes out, but I'll be talking about it, I'm sure. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.